It's loading. Oh,
Okay.
we are live.
Hello, everybody. So besides the fact that Michelle is my business partner and friend, I wanted to interview her about her current program because I think it's going to help a lot of people. Let me adjust my camera. Ooh, sorry. I got to figure this shit out. So Michelle Farrell, as you know, is my business partner for Straight Up Strong, but she is also a nutrition coach. And unlike a lot of nutrition coaches, the focus is on weight loss, which both of us don't. Not that we want everyone to gain tons of weight. We want people to be healthy, but not obsess about diets, because that's just not a long-term healthy solution. So we're here, and I'm going to be asking Michelle some questions because she's launching Unf Your Meal Prep, this free 4-day program starts on Thursday. So Michelle, I wanted you to share with me, because you know a lot about the struggles of your clients when it comes to nutrition. What's usually people's greatest struggle, and why did you create the Unf Your Meal Prep?
So just to circle back a little bit to this is not for weight loss purposes. I don't coach weight loss. I am a firm believer in health at every size, that you cannot tell somebody's health by what they look like physically. And also, even if somebody is unhealthy, that doesn't mean that they are not worthy of respect and love and equal treatment. So one of the things that I find a lot with my clients and when folks come to work with me is that they have been down the diet road, one after another kind of diet, where they don't even know what end is up anymore and what to believe anymore. One diet says fats are bad, you shouldn't eat fats. One diet says fats are amazing, only eat fats. Another diet says you have to make sure you eat breakfast. Another diet says make sure you fast for 24 hours. Like, there's just all these different rigid rules that folks create around their dieting plans and their lifestyles to be marketable, to be flashy, because we have been sold on this idea that we should be always seeking weight loss, that we should be always trying to make ourselves smaller or grow more muscle, but not too much muscle. And so when my clients come to me, it's really helping them on what it had, all of these things that they had, like detangle all of these ideas and expectations that they think that they're supposed to have in order to be healthy, and just really bring it back to simplifying that you can have this, like what you were just saying, that when somebody's saying, and I am not an intuitive eating coach, but I do believe in those principles, that our bodies are really smart and that we do intuitively know when we're hungry, when we're full, and what we find satisfying, what we enjoy eating, what we don't like eating. And then along the way, by being so entrenched in different diets, we kind of lose touch with that. So a lot of people say, but if you do that, then you're just encouraging people to just eat donuts and cupcakes and cakes all the time and never eat vegetables. And that is absolutely not what that's about at all. I'm a firm believer in having a variety of foods that are going to give you access to the nutrients, the macronutrients and micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals that your body needs to be its best self. So that's why I created this.
It's so interesting to talk about diets, because I just remembered one time I was out with, I have a French family, so they're from France, and they have three little kids. They're all under the age of 12, but because they're, or at least my friend doesn't have restrictions about, no, you can't eat this candy. You can't. Sometimes they have a chocolate croissant for breakfast, or they put Nutella on, but because these boys are not restricted. One time when I was with them, the mom bought them like the special chocolate. Each of them ate like a couple squares, and they're like, oh, I'm done. like, because she didn't have any rules. They just, so they don't have restrictions. They ate till they're like, oh yeah, I've had enough. I mean, like as a kid, I would never save that for later because I wasn't allowed candy. So you would just constantly crave this thing that you can't have. But when there's no rules about it and you just go with, I guess your body knows when it's like, oh, that's too much or whatever. So it's really interesting. So I'm curious, how did you come about this philosophy? Because oftentimes it's like we might have experienced certain things and then it brings us to a place when we're older, like, oh, this is, what I firmly believe.
So essentially, I've been on and off a diet my entire life since I was like 8. Like I grew up in a house where all of the women and some of the men were always on a diet. So that was always the topic of conversation. Are you on Weight Watchers? Are you on Richard Simmons at one point had some diet plan that went with his workout, and then Susan Powder, the Stop the Insanity, so essentially my entire life was always, and by no fault of any of the people that I love and are dear to me around me, but kids hear and internalize everything that's going on. So when kids are hearing, my thighs are so fat, or, oh, I can't wear a bathing suit on the beach, or you start internalizing that. And then kids, I mean, as young as 6 are starting to look at their bodies and think like, ooh, I don't want to do that. So my really disordered patterns of eating started pretty young. And that fear, that fat phobia, that fear of being fat, that is because society creates this, like, that is the worst possible thing that you could possibly be. Like, you don't ever want to be that, which is a whole other story for another day of why that's, we don't want to do that. But so long story short is at one point in my life, when I was still weighing myself multiple times a day, I was up to the heaviest weight that I was at. And I just want to kind of give this a content warning, a trigger warning in case it's triggering for anybody recovering from an eating disorder or anything. And I was introduced to an MLM with some superfood shakes, and thought that I lost some weight. And I thought that this was like the most wonderful thing in the world. And now I'm getting healthy and I have all this energy. But I mean, it was really because I was making time for myself 30 minutes a day to move my body and not eat takeout all the time, which is also like for folks who like that's what they have access to eat, like that's fine. So after being in the trenches of that for a few years, I finally was like I just can't do this anymore. Like I can't be weighing and measuring every little thing all the time, like measuring out like a cup of lettuce. Like, why am I measuring a cup of lettuce? Yeah. Like it gets got to the point where, and I know that I am not alone where I was then, because I was in a group with sometimes hundreds of other people, but with these other coaches running these, groups that were all doing the same thing. So I decided to get my training certificate and my nutrition coaching certificate, and then really realized like how not healthy I was actually being in that trying to seek health. That's how I came to this. I just want to help other people who are in a similar situation and are trying to give up that dieting lifestyle, but just don't know where to start because they don't know where to start. And also because there's like a little bit of, there can be a lot of fear and anxiety around like, well, if I just, stop weighing and measuring all my food, if I stop counting all my calories, what if I just like get huge? Like there's still like that. And that's a really, really valid fear because we've been taught to be so fearful of that. And when we give up restricting, you might have some weight gain. You might have some weight loss. You might stay exactly the same. Everybody's body is different. So what I encourage people to do is to actually just give the scale a break for a while, and just try to step away from that and let the process kind of take you where it's going to take you.
Yeah, that, but you said, I think that it can be scary because the idea of as soon as you let go of control, that all of a sudden your body is going to go out of control. That probably, but as you said, the body is very smart. It's not just going to go from one extreme to the other because it's constantly seeking to have a balance, like to have a, what is that, like because it wants to maintain a certain level because it can't survive in going up and down, up and down, up and down, or constantly going up. Because if you constantly gain weight, that means your body constantly has to eat food, and that's not naturally survivable. That you have to just keep eating all the food to like maintain the weight. The body finds a stasis. That's the word I'm looking for.
Homeostasis, yeah. And it's just had a thought and then I lost it, but it's like the worst thing that's going to happen to you is not that you're going to gain weight, right? Like and I think that there's this, we've been so taught that we can't be trusted around food because we've had these experiences on diets where we've failed on the diet. We've fallen off the wagon. When it's like, it's not us, it's the diet, because it's not sustainable, because it's so restrictive. And biologically, when you are restricting yourself, your body goes into survival mode so that your brain that's all it's thinking about. Because it's like, oh shit, when am I ever going to eat again? We must be going into a famine. I got to eat what I can eat now. And then your brain is just like, I got to find food. 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 And you might, when you're starting the process, you might find yourself eating to a point where you get that like really uncomfortable full feeling because you're trying to reset yourself and trying to relearn. And that's normal. And yeah, it's uncomfortable and it's a learning experience, but I help my clients kind of walk through that. And we use journaling to, like, how did that make you feel? Like, how did it make you feel emotionally? How did you feel physically? And trying to do it without any sort of like judgment, like I was bad, I had no control, because you're not bad for that. Everybody sometimes eats to that point of fullness. Like it happens sometimes because food is really yummy, so.
And it will never not be yummy. Like food is just, right.
And that's the other point. A lot of times people also stop eating foods that they enjoy and are like culturally significant for them and start adding in foods that they despise. Like all the times I used to try to eat like spring mix, because spring mix lettuce is supposed to be the like highest in nutrients. I hate spring mix. Like, please just give me all the romaine. Like I love romaine lettuce, and like I get plenty of vitamins and minerals from other sources because I eat a variety. So you don't have to keep eating foods that you hate. And you definitely don't have to cut out foods and meals that are like part of who you are as a human being, culturally, in your family. Like, so I think that's really important to make note of as well.
I wanted to ask you, so we're going to get back to your program. So one of the things that seems like that people, when they want to make a change, they don't know how. So can you talk a little bit about how meal planning can be a little, people like, I don't know what to get. It seems like so much. Talk about the idea of uneffing your meal plan.
So for a lot of diets, part of their diet program, is they'll talk about meal prep. And when they talk about meal prep, they talk about preparing the meals based on what they think is the good or the right thing to eat. So a lot of times when we think about meal planning or meal prepping, we think about somebody handing us a meal plan and saying, you're going to eat these things in these amounts at these times, prep it. And it usually comes along with some complicated recipes and ingredients that you'll only ever use once. Like, I think I had like a bottle of like saffron or something in my for like years because I used it for one recipe. And a bottle of saffron is expensive.
Oh my God, yes. I was just thinking about if you ever try to cook an Indian cuisine from scratch, it's like a gazillion spices. Unless you're going to be doing it all the time, it is hard because you buy all these different spices that taste good. Be like, wait, but like saffron, you're like, I've used this once. Yep.
Yeah. So it's, you know, and then it becomes this, like, you're going to literally spend the whole day in the kitchen prepping foods and washing dishes, and it becomes this overwhelming thing so that you can have the right and good foods to eat at the right times throughout the week.
Yeah.
So meal prepping should in fact make life easier so that when you're short on time in the morning, you know that you have some hard-boiled eggs you can grab. When you are, if you're constantly stopping at Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks every morning and you could set up your coffee maker to be ready in the morning. Like, that's meal prepping. Having frozen waffles. I love, one of my favorite things to make for breakfast is the Kodiak.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
The protein waffles, the frozen protein waffles. And then I put some Greek yogurt with some defrosted frozen berries on it. It's so good.
Really good. Yeah.
It's so good. And you get your protein, you get your carbohydrates, you get some fat. It's like so good. But yeah, like just helping people get back to simplicity to actually make their lives easier.
Yep.
So when they're going to work, they grab, you know, whatever it is they have for lunch that day, and or knowing, okay, I have book club on Monday night. I teach class on Tuesday night, and like, I want things that are really fast meals for that night. So maybe on Sunday you make like a baked ziti or something, right? And then you have that in the fridge for if you have other members of your household who maybe it's harder for them to wait for you until 7 or 8 o'clock at night to eat. They have something they can just heat up for themselves.
Yeah. So, you know, that's interesting. Let's talk about what someone's going to get in the 4-day program. So they have an idea of like what they're going to be learning.
Sure. So this Thursday night, March 18th. Sorry, my cat has been all over me all afternoon.
Your cat is the best. He's like, oh. I'm YouTube famous.
So March 18th at 7:30 p.m., we're going to have a live call on Zoom where I'm going to share some of the tools that I've created and just walk folks through the exact process that I use each week to meal plan and prep. Starting with looking at our week ahead, planning our meals, and then from grocery shopping, like how to get in and out of the grocery store in minimal amount of time. And then on Sunday, this is the super fun part, on Sunday the 21st at 1:30, wait. I got to go back and forth on the time, 1 o'clock.
This is where they're going to do stuff together, right?
Yeah, we're going to be on a Zoom call together. We're going to be in our kitchens together, and we're going to prep together as if we were all like, and we're going to be able to have conversation. We're going to be able to ask each other questions. There's also a private Facebook group for Friday and Saturday where folks can share, like, this is a recipe that I'm going to make. I will be sharing some of my favorite recipes that I make almost every week or in heavy rotation to give like as exemplars for folks. And we'll be sharing exactly like what my week will look like. But it's really important for people to understand that the main goal is for them to take that example and use what's going to work for them and supplement. So this is not this is what I'm doing, you're going to do this, because that's what we're trying to break away from. But I do think it's important to give examples. So I will be showing everybody on Sunday exactly, like, I put the water on to do this. I put the crock pot on to do this. This is how I'm in and out in under an hour and a half. Because your Sunday, you have better things to do with your time, right? So
this sounds like something that's also especially helpful, like the whole planning. If you're someone with kids, you already are planning. So this just gives it more structure on how to plan for the week ahead, and then not have to stress about, I'm sure that for moms, I think about how my parents, like, how do they know what to make every night? Because it's like, what do you want to eat for dinner? Like, just planning ahead of the week so you can not stress during the week when you don't know what's going to come up during the week.
Yeah, so it's also funny. I was in this group with a bunch of very successful, like, high-powered women. Some were moms, some were not moms, and we were joking about how you're constantly making all of these decisions all day long. Like, these entrepreneurs are making these really amazing, like, hard decisions, and they go out to brunch with each other, and it's like, well, where do you want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? It's like, almost like it's such a simple decision, but just especially for people who are busy and are doing a million things, to not have to do that, like, back and forth. What do you want for dinner tonight? I don't know. What do you want for dinner tonight? Because it's that, like, simple decision that is, like, so annoying and so hard to make sometimes. So,
and if it's already made, you're like, this is what we're having for dinner tonight, or you can make your own.
Like, this is it. And, if you don't like that, then there's some other things in the fridge that are, that you can kind of grab and throw together. So that's the other thing I'll be helping people with. I'll be giving, like, kind of a list of, I hate the term hacks, but, like, shortcuts. So you have a week or a weekend where you don't have any time to grill some chicken breast or do anything ahead of time for the week. What are some things you can get at the grocery store? Yogurts, granola, cut baby carrots, like, things like that don't require any prep, that you can just kind of plan for, buy, and get on with your day. So
it's not, I think that's great, because it's kind of like stuff that you might not have thought of, but someone else, like, oh, I do this. You're like, oh, like when you gave me the idea about time blocking for just schedule, instead of like doing all whatever kind of work, if I have to check my Facebook group, instead of checking throughout the day, just knowing, okay, that's going to be this part of my day, and then there's less stress. So it's just kind of learning these shortcuts in life that someone else might be applying, like you, and that I wouldn't have thought of until you told me about it.
Yeah, I think that community, and we both know this from Straight Up Strong, like, community is really everything. Like, to have a group of folks who can come, everybody has amazing ideas. Everybody comes from a different background. Everybody has a different lens on things. And when you bring all of these amazing brains together, like, I'm always learning things from our Straight Up Strong members. I'm always learning things from you. It's not just, and even in class, it's not just, like, always the Michelle show, right? Like, sometimes even the questions that members ask, like, instead of, like, my knee hurts today, what can I do instead of this? Is like, oh, I didn't even think of this. This was a bad example, but, like, oh, I'm glad you asked that. Or they'll say, why do we do this movement? Like, just to have you really think about the whys, and not just, like, do this because I said so. And I like love that.
Except for when you're doing burpees on your birthday. Do this because I said so. Well,
it's a celebration.
This is gonna be a lot of fun. So, and I guess for us to wrap up, where can someone sign up for the Unf Your Meal Prep free program?
Sure. So what I'll do is I will put the link in the comments of this recording because it's like not a super simple like website link. I tried something new this time with where I like kept the information, and I learned something new, always learning something new. So yeah, so I will drop the link below. It has all the information. And then if anybody has any questions, you can always email me at michelle@michellefarrellfitness.com. You can leave a comment. Also, if people can't make the live calls, like if you can't come to the Thursday night call or you can't come to the live experience on Sunday, these things will be recorded. So you will get that value, like to watch the recording. And you will get all of the like PDF, like handouts and graphic organizers and things that I've created for them. So even if you can't make if you can make one live call, if you can make no live calls, it's still worthwhile. I mean, it's free. It's going to be super fun. We already have an amazing group of folks who are registered. So if you're on the fence about registering, you might as well register, and then like you have nothing to lose. It's going to be super fun.
It's going to be great.
Yay.
It's going to be a great program.
Thanks for having me on here. All right. Bye, everybody.